All right, guys. Welcome to Tuesday, November 23rd's pre-recorded Zoom, and I'm actually doing this a bit later at night. I mean, I'm still up right now, and I'm probably going to be up for like a bit longer. So I just said, you know what? Let me just get the Zoom. Try to see if I could get this uploaded before our New York session tomorrow morning. But no promises, of course. But anyways. Right, so same thing. Nothing has changed from last week, right? We have been emphasizing that we should be continuing higher, and that we really don't have a reason to be bearish in terms of dollar. However, right, I am still acknowledging that we are coming into, right, a more of an important turbulence point, which led to that final push to the downside. However, something to note, right, is that we are actually, I believe it was a 2 week. Yeah, it was a 2 week inefficiency fill. That is exactly where we are right now. So I'm not saying this is a sign of reversal. I'm just saying this is something to be wary of and very important to note. I would highlight it, but it is pretty big of a zone. So I'm gonna just leave it as is, right? However, like I said, I'm not really too, how do I say this? I'm not too inclined to want to be bearish just because I know that for pretty much 3 weeks now, this has been 100% bullish. So I don't really want to go against that unless I'm giving any type of proper reasoning. And as of now, it's very it's very hard to determine that, right? Because I'm still acknowledging turbulence points that created new highs, right? So when we're looking at this, right? I don't remember when we noted. I think we noted this last Zoom. But we're pretty much seeing, right, a continuation into the upside, and we could see a potential mitigation in terms of structure. And unless I don't get a proper reaction, right, because obviously you need internal bearish structure to reach this certain area of price from low to high, basically. But I'm more so referencing this because this is, right, the last solidified low as well. Right, so low to high and from an intermediate / intraday basis. Like I said, I know I have to be bearish in order to, continue higher. But right, like I said, unless I get a proper transition, then I'm probably going to pass on these opportunities, especially just because of how overextended we are. I'm just looking at prior structure, prior momentum, right? It's taken a lot to give us these bullish moves, right? And now we finally popped off, but we haven't really seen much of a pullback. So with that being said, it could really be a sign of potential reversal depending on how we react in this previous turbulence point, because that if that is now, then taken out, then it's technically a liquidity grab based on the red line here, where we take that out and immediately break immediate structure, leading into a potential sign of reversal. But I don't really want to assume that, just yet. As for EU, right, remember last week on Friday we discussed, right, the London session move that occurred, and that, has definitely continued, currently sitting around there. However, right, I actually did take another opportunity late New York this morning, and it was based on, obviously what was already shown previously. And when we look at this now, right, my entry was here, right? But in order to find that narrative that's in play, right, what I like to see here is the preliminary structure be taken out, because this is now showing me that this is the solidification of this previous low, and that if we then see bearish transition, right, in this form, it would be a bearish break of structure, right? There's obviously continuation BOSs in here, but I'm more so worried about the reversal BOS here. That now justifies that we attempted to be bullish, but we inevitably ended up being bearish. So when we start to look at internal price action, right? First thing I see, cool, mitigation, right? Mitigation of the mitigation, which is M1, I believe. Right, mitigation, only 2 mitigations led to a very strong impulse move. That's giving me signs, excuse me, that this is strong order flow, that this is very bearish, and I have no reason to think otherwise, right? Even if you see, right, a continuation BOS, right, if you would have tried to go long here, you see that that fails, because, right, we are still bearish. We have been bearish. We have been bearish for, you know, a very long time now. I don't really have any reason as to why I should be anything other than bearish. Cool. So as for the current structural range that I'm in, right, obviously from an intraday basis, this is what I'm reading, right, and I'm only thinking continuation in this scenario. Right, I use this low because that is where the first time we saw preliminary structure be taken, so that means the sign of the pullback has started. So the first thing I noted, right, was whether we were going to complete the break of structure, right, because if this, you know, is not taken out, because it is a solidified high, just because we had low, high, low, high, low, right, that is then a liquidity grab, and we take preliminary structure, this solidifies as low as being, you know, the pullback. So I wanted to see if we were going to see any type of reaction within probably the last POI that I could recognize at the moment. And as you can see, right, I had to wait in order to find some type of reaction. So what I'm paying attention to, right, I see a continuation BOS, then an immediate counter BOS, right? However, this is technically a liquidity grab to the upside, but there is no substantial new high being made here, and inevitably that leads to another continuation BOS, right, which now shows to me a sign of potential bearishness, because this is now a solidified high and we failed to break a previous high. So based on structure, I can now assume bearish continuation. And I actually took my position, right, I believe this is a 2-minute SE here, unless I'm mistaken. Yep, 2-minute SE. And if you dive in deeper, you do see the inefficiency fill right here, right? And if you're continuing order flow, I would have left my invalidation right above previous high, making that a 2.5 away, I believe. Yes, it was a 2.5, right? An easy 1 to 10 into previous liquidity to structural range. And that's a pretty much my partial spot, and a very good partial spot at that, just because all we're doing is looking for those continuations. So currently, right, we've already seen a spike up, right? And this is very strong, right? We did break our preliminary structure, right? This could itself be a liquidity grab to want to take you higher, right? And I would like to see if by New York tomorrow we could definitely see, I mean, if we could possibly see some type of POI be met and some type of proper reaction, just so I can, you know, then catch more continuations to the downside. So that would probably be there with EU. Still bearish, even if we see the continuation BOSs. I want to see if we can reach back up here so I can continue selling. Right, so let's see, AU, same thing here. I don't fully recall what we talked about on Friday, but I know that we were still bearish and we had no reason to be otherwise. As you can see, right, like I said, we had, right, the turbulence point created pretty much a bullish run that creates to a bearish liquidity grab, and that gives you the sign that this is a turbulence point. That turbulence point, I mean, as you can see here, I don't know if this is what I meant with this, but we did come back to tap structure, aka the turbulence point that created the final push up to lead to the push down. So that was mitigated. That is now continued. I believe some people caught a very nice continuation here. You can even see the M5 wick, I'm sorry. M5 wick there being mitigated, and you can also still see that we are still continuing bearishness. But just like EU, we've actually seen the preliminary structure breaks, especially the final leg there. So we could start seeing some type of recovery. This one, obviously, there I would say there's two spots, which would be there, right? And this would be the continuation, right? I'd more so like to see the discount, of course, and a deeper retracement at that, especially because if we are going to reach initial POI, right, this is now becoming bullish, you know, so this would be picking a high without a transition. But yeah, I would like to see what happens there coming into New York. Same thing in GU as it seems. It seems like we are, you know, creating a liquidity grab. But I want to see if, right, our invalidation is met, and this would then create more bearish movement. But this one too is just these have all been bearish. You know, no reason not to be bearish on anything XXXUSD. Especially with how bullish DXY has been, especially this run that we just noted now. Excuse me. Right, so yeah, with that being said, there really isn't much else. I do want to continue the continuations. I want to stay away from that reversal mindset, which a lot of people tend to have, and I mean, we all have it at the end of the day. But either way, right, I do want to restrain myself from wanting any type of reversal trade, just because I know at the end of the day the continuations will pay me more and more consistently. But yeah, other than that, there really isn't much to say. Make sure you guys get some studies going for Friday, and we can actually discuss, because I believe it was not this previous Friday, but the Friday before that, we had a very good case study, and that case study ended up, you know, giving us a huge move in Euro GBP. Right, so it was definitely, right, a great study, and you saw that move now play out a week and a half later. Well, it was less than a week, but you get what I'm saying. So with that being said, I'll see you guys on Friday.